I remember back in 2018, Mojang let us vote on one of 3 biomes to update and add new blocks and stuff. We chose between the Savannah, taiga, and desert, and eventually we got foxes and sweet berries. But like, what if we just added a new block to like every single biome? Well, I did, and now I want to show you these new blocks and tell you why I added them. And well, I decided to add thatch to the plains biome, and the reason is because we saw Minecraft add the new straw beds, and honestly, like, hay bales are such a difficult block to build with. I mean, look at this, it's like this yellow block, we got like these red lines in it. So now we have thatch, and this is just a much cooler block, and it actually has stairs and slabs. So my thought is you could use it as like a roofing block on some of your houses, and it works really nicely with something like oak wood here. And you might be wondering how you craft thatch, and instead of doing 9 for a hay bale, you just kind of do 4, and then boom, you got a thatch block. So, you know, early game, you could probably imagine building your house out of this, and it looks pretty nice, and it's super easy to gather the materials you need for it. And then another plains biome we have in the game is the sunflower plains. And there's not much you could probably add to this biome to make it more interesting, so why not make a craftable block? And this is a cool little crate of sunflowers you can craft, and it kind of looks like a bit of gold at the top, so maybe you could use that in like a mine shaft. And if you stack this up like so, it actually looks kind of like a ladder, so there's a lot of utility with this block. But I kind of imagine this block could be used in like a market stall or maybe decoration for your garden. I mean, overall, this is just a pretty block. Like, look, you could even use this as a flooring if you wanted to. And the third plains type biome we have is the meadow, and honestly, this is one of my favorite biomes. I think it already looks beautiful, but what could we add to it to make it more interesting? And my thought was this block, alpine gravel. So it's kind of like a mixture between sand and gravel. And this block was actually inspired when I went to visit Mount Rainier in Seattle. And I thought the meadows and creeks and streams there were just really pretty. So that's why I think this block is just a really good fit. And you guys know me, you know I love my block gradients. That's why I made alpine gravel like this in between light gray concrete powder and diorite. So it could look really nice in certain building applications. And the next biome to talk about is actually the oak forest. And these have had a little bit of iteration over the years. I mean, we recently got leaf litter and bushes, but another really great foliage addition to oak forest would be clovers. And this idea was given to me by my girlfriend, who just said she wanted more plants in the game, and I kind of agreed. And I feel like Mojang would go in this direction because we have yellow, we have pink, and we have like these brown kind of carpet layer flowers that going on here. So something green to go along with it, like that doesn't seem like a stretch. It seems like something that would fit really nicely into the game. Okay, now I'm covering the old growth birch forest and the regular birch forest in one, but when Mojang revealed the concept art for the birch forest, I can't remember what year it was, but I'll pop it on screen, you can actually see a hollowed out log in the picture. So that's why it's now right here in the game, and you can actually crawl through this hollowed log. If I go ahead and get a trap door and put it right here, yeah, there we go. We can actually crawl, whoops, get that grass out of my face. We can actually crawl through here. And of course, if you add it for one wood, why not add it for all of them? I think this is a pretty easy change Mojang can make. I'm not exactly sure why they haven't yet, considering it's been in official concept art already. And one of my favorite forest biomes is the flower forest. It's already so pretty, so like, what do we add to make it even better? And to me, there was only one option. It was just adding more flowers. Like, what could work in the flower forest? That's right, more flowers. So what about a flowering vine? It basically functions like a regular vine. It's just brighter and it actually has flowers on it, so that's pretty. I feel like I don't need to do much convincing to get this in the game. Kind of just say, hey, let's make the flower forest more pretty. If we look at the way regular vines look on a structure, like it looks cool, it adds some detail, but sometimes you want a little more color, and that's where I think flowering vines kind of come in. They definitely, like, they are really vibrant. They add such a beautiful pop of color. Anyways, the next forest is the dark forest, and I really struggled to come up with a block for this one because I imagine Mojang wants this place to feel very dark and mysterious, and it's already got mushrooms, and they probably don't want it to be super vibrant and all that. So what if some of the dark oak trees were actually infected with this block called gnarled roots? And the idea is that it's a slightly retextured mangrove roots, and also it's this really cool purple. Like, we don't have this kind of purple block anywhere in the game. I think the closest color we have to it is like structure block, and you can't even use that in survival. And it also looks pretty similar to mud. I kind of imagine this working in like a fantasy swamp area. Like, I actually worked on building this custom fantasy swamp area, and my thought was like, what if some of these trees were infected? I don't know, I think it gives off a pretty cool fantasy look, and it's something I feel like Mojang would actually add to the dark forest because it doesn't stray too far from the vibe they're going for there. I mean, look how nice it is with blackstone. I just absolutely love this block. Now coming up on the Pale Garden, which is one of those biomes that added something I've been wanting for years, which was a white wood. But, you know, what is the opposite of a white wood? Well, it's a black wood. And so I thought it would be cool to add this burnt hut structure to the Pale Garden because there's no structure currently. And this obviously has, you know, fences, stairs, slabs, fence gates, all that stuff. And the cool thing about this is it is the darkest block with stairs and slabs in the game. The darkest block obviously being black concrete, but for dark stairs and slabs, we really only have black stone, so what if we had a little bit of a step up? And also, I think the idea of someone living in the Pale Garden, but their structure is now burnt, I don't know, it just creates some interesting lore opportunities. And in stark contrast to the Pale Garden, we have the Cherry Grove. And honestly, again, I didn't know what block to add to this one in the beginning because, well, it's the Cherry Grove. It's already like the most beautiful biome in the game. So I came up with this idea. This is the Cherry Petal Screen. It basically is like a glass pane, but it's cherry petals, and there's definitely some cool applications for this block. And the first is that it actually creates a sort of interesting wall. So previously, when we would do stuff like this with glass panes, is we had to use iron bars, and then, you know, the glass connects and it's cool, but of course you can see through the iron bars. Well, this is the first type of this block where it's solid, and so you could create structures out of this. Additionally, if you place just one down like this, you get this cool post that's actually just like a cherry log texture. It's just really thin, and this right here is just something we don't have in the game, and it works really nicely with nether brick. But my original thought with this block is that it's actually a room divider. It looks kind of like one of those screens you might see in someone's home, you know, separating rooms or whatever. Now the taiga already has sweet berries and foxes. It's got its update, so I'm gonna be really petty with this addition. This right here is the golden pod. Yeah, it's basically a cocoa bean, but it's golden. And why are we adding this to the taiga of all biomes? Because honestly, this one doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, we're adding this because I think the golden dandelion sucks. I think it's a bad feature. I think they added this and it's lazy. It's a dandelion retextured. So that's why I made the cocoa bean retextured. Look, at the very least, I'm not taking a yellow thing and making it more yellow. What I'm doing is I'm taking a brown thing and making it golden. It's genius. Just trust. Yeah, okay, we're moving on to that. And we have the old growth spruce taiga, which is one of my favorite biomes. I know a lot of biomes are my favorite biomes, but this one really is one of my favorites because it reminds me of the redwood forest, which I've frequented a lot in my life. And something that is in the redwood forest is red dirt. Like, the dirt sometimes is very red. Maybe not like this. This is a little more fantasy, a little more Minecrafty. This is called ferruginous dirt. And the idea is that it's just dirt with like iron deposits in it. And I think it looks really cool in the old growth taiga, but they do have one cool functionality, and that is that if you were to dig straight down below this ferruginous dirt, you might just get lucky and find one of those iron veins. The dirt is red, that means there's iron in it, which means if you go down, there's iron below. It doesn't make any sense at all geologically, but this is Minecraft. Now next up we have the snowy taiga, and I'm cheating a little bit with this because I'm actually adding the block to the snowy villages. And I believe these only spawn in snowy plains, so yeah, I mean, it's a little misleading, but block for this biome nonetheless is the crate of berries. And I think this is just a cool way to bring more life into the village. Like, look at that little pop of color in this otherwise very brown and very white area. And similar to the sunflower crate, you could probably imagine this being used in like some market stalls. More realistically, I think Mojang would just add a crate block, and then you could add like any plant you want into the crate block. But, you know, this is a cool idea anyways. And then for the snowy plains, we have icicles. Honestly, we just need this block in the game. Like, why haven't we had this yet? I think it's inevitable. We've already got dripstone, we've got sulfur spikes. Next up is icicles. Like, Mojang, just make it happen. Just do it. And please add like icy caves. Those would look so cool. I once saw in one of Mogswamp's videos where he built like a custom icicle cave. I thought it was awesome. I knew we needed icicles, and I had to add it in this mod. Another biome icicles would look good in is the ice spikes biome. You could probably imagine these having like icicles on top, but anyways, that's not the block I decided to add to this one. The block I decided to add was chiseled packed ice, and this block just looks really cool. It kind of looks like there's a flower pattern inside. But my thought was on some of these really big ice spikes, imagine there was like some chiseled packed ice in here. I don't know, it just gives it some visual interest, and it makes it feel a little more fantasy. Like, you can imagine this is like an ice flower or something. The frozen river, though, was one of the hardest biomes to come with a block with. I mean, it's a river of just ice. what are we going to add to this? Well, I'm glad you asked. We're going to add sheet ice. And sheet ice, I mean, it kind of looks like packed ice, does it not? But it's actually a lie, because if you stand on this for more than 2 seconds, it just turns to water. My thought was this could create some cool parkour challenges where it's like, oh, you can't stand on this for more than 2 seconds, otherwise, oh, it just turns to water, and then you can't complete the parkour. It also just looks sus when you come across this. Like, what is that? All right, the desert biome is like the epitome of bland biomes, but we did get some cool stuff. Like, we got cactus flowers recently, but this structure right here, the desert well, has been pretty forgotten. If I remember correctly, this structure was added and then like literally hasn't been updated except to add suspicious sand. So what if we just replace the suspicious sand with something down here? And the new block for the desert is this stuff called sabulum slate. And at first glance, it's like a pretty, normal basic looking block. I mean, there's nothing special to it. It's kind of a cool pillar. But if you take a pottery sherd to it, boom, 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 you can attach patterns to the sides of these pillars. So basically the pattern from the decorated pot, we just moved it onto this slate block. And of course the desert well, maybe there will be some suspicious sand around that you get some sherds from, and then that's where you'd learn what these are all about. And we've got this big post here because I thought it'd be cool if you could mark like, oh, my breeze rod farm is that way. Or maybe down this path we have the heartbreak sherd because... Anyways, moving on, we're now in the jungle, which is my favorite biome to build in just because of how lush the grass is. And this biome is where tangle bloom would spawn. And at first glance, it just looks like a little wart on the jungle tree. And yeah, I mean, if you don't see the top of it, it's actually a plant. So let me place it down here. So it's kind of like cocoa beans, but big. It's got this really cool purple texture that, I mean, honestly, the closest color we have to it is nether bricks. So from a building perspective, this would be really cool to work with. But the idea is that if you put this in a crafting table, you'll get something called burgundy dye. And that new dye is why we're in the bamboo forest, because if we take this bamboo and we dye it with the burgundy dye, we'll get stained bamboo, which obviously has stair and slab variants. And I think this looks so cool, and it's actually pretty similar to what we see in real life when people burn bamboo. It has a very similar color, but in this case we're using like a burgundy dye to make it, which that dye might then be used to get more glass, more terracotta, and more concrete colors. But that whole burgundy dye thing is a topic for another video. This is all just very conceptual. Wait, hold on, I gotta test this out on my roof here. Does this look good? Ooh, that looks kind of cool actually. Now this next block I think was announced in Minecon 2018 when we talked about the Savannah biome update, and that block was the termite mound. Now I think the termite mound is actually a really cool block. And why, you might ask? I think it looks like a cookie. Now, what would termites crawling out of the termite mound actually do? I don't know. I just think this looks like a cookie. I mean, come on now. I got my little plate right here and cookie. Boom. What do we think, guys? Pretty cool block addition, right? No, but in all seriousness, Mojang announced this block, right? They were like, hey, this is a cool idea we have that would fit in with Minecraft, and then we just don't get it. I feel like that's kind of sad. So I added the termite mound to the Savannah biome here. And yes, it looks like a cookie. It also kind of looks like a brown ore. Like, I feel like you could see this in the caves and not really bat an eye. It could be like, oh, well, that's just the cookie ore. Okay, now this might be the world's smallest windswept savanna, and it has a mangrove tree on it for some reason. But I think this biome right here, I think it deserves a cool new plant. And that block is stone crop. And this kind of looks like a fantasy version of a succulent. That was sort of the vision. That's why it's called stone crop. But I just thought it would be really pretty if you're walking up to a windswept savanna and you see this like jagged stone cliff, and then you also see, one little flower up there. And it's a really pretty plant. So the idea is that, you try and traverse your way up the mountain. It's a little bit of a challenge to get to the stone crop. In reality, though, this is just an excuse for me to add another pretty plant to the game. I just like pretty plants, alright? Like, can you really blame me? Minecraft does need more plants. Now take a look at this biome, the Badlands Plateau, and tell me what's wrong with it. What's wrong with it? I'll tell you, it's oak wood. That's what it is. I mean, this is basically an oak forest just with dead bushes and coarse dirt. Like, that's lame. So my thought is, what if we just literally got rid of all the trees and then added our own trees using this wood? What is this wood? Well, it's baobab wood. And instead of just measly oak trees on this plateau, imagine a bunch of baobab trees on this plateau. And it doesn't make sense. I'm pretty sure baobab trees grow in like sub-Saharan Africa, so not really up in a plateau, but it was just absolutely required that that I add a green wood to the game. Mojang is going to do it eventually, but I think this is what I would want. It has this sort of yellowish green color that we really, again, don't have in Minecraft at all. And so I think this is a perfect addition that Minecrafters have been asking for like years. When I think of the mesa, I think of terracotta, and terracotta in real life is much more widely used to like carve out pots and create interesting patterns and make little statues. But in Minecraft, this is all we got. So that's why I thought it would be cool to add a new type of block called terracotta panels. Now, terracotta panels, I mean, it's essentially terracotta with like a cool pattern carved into it. That's really it. You might be able to use it as like a rug in a house, or it's also a good wallpaper block, or you could use it on roofs since it's kind of got that tiled texture to it that makes it look like it could be a roof tile. Now, the eroded badlands are a whole different story. These are the badlands with those big spikes going up, and I thought it would be neat if you dig inside one of these rocks, you find this block called scarp rock. At a glance, it kind of looks just like desaturated resin, and I mean, it's kind of true. It's got this kind of darkish orange-brown color. But the point was that every single rock texture we have in Minecraft has like a cool pattern. This one feels like it's going side to side. This one looks like it's cracked. Cobbled deep slate looks like it's kind of sort of tiled. And scarp rock has this sort of vertical rock look, and that matches the vertical rock look of all the eroded badland spikes. But yeah, it's a pretty cool block. I imagine it's pretty similar in color to like mangrove and brown wool, so you know, probably got lots of different uses. Now heading into the swamp, I had this concept for a swamp village. I think this would just fit naturally into Minecraft since we already have swamp villagers, and a block that would be nice to have in the swamp is tainted bricks, which is just this green brick. And if you're wondering how we get green bricks, it's from this new block, tainted algae. So the swamp kind of has two blocks in one. Now for tainted algae, I kind of just stole the green color from kelp blocks since we don't really have many kelp block colored things in the game, but I imagine the algae would spawn on top of water like this, and I think it would give swamps just like another really cool look to them. Look at this guy, we already have swamp villagers, like why don't we have swamp villages? Anyways, green bricks, we need them in the game. Green bricks, I just feel like it's absolutely necessary. And the other type of swamp in Minecraft is this mangrove swamp, and honestly, I love the mangrove swamps. I think they're really fun to explore and look around in, so what could we do to make it a little better? Well, the best idea I had is you take mangrove roots, you put 4 of them in a crafting grid, and you get weaved roots, which when you place these together, you get this really mesmerizing texture. It's like all the roots are weaved together. I think part of me just didn't like how mangrove roots are like transparent inside. I don't know, it's not my favorite thing in the world. So weaved roots, we get that cool kind of color, but then it's like a solid block. Moving on to the river, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really know what to add to the river because I feel like this is just more of an in-between biome. Like we have sunflower plains and flower forest right there. These biomes are much cooler. The river's just the thing you gotta cross. However, these guys right here, the salmon that spawn in the river, well, they don't have any homes. They don't have any place where they lay their eggs. So I mean, what if we just added salmon eggs to Minecraft? Now in real life, salmon like to kind of lay their eggs under fallen logs or like in little shallow nests of gravel. So you can imagine it would be kind of cool to have some salmon eggs in these little areas. And it gives Mojang an excuse to update the rivers and maybe add something a little more interesting to them. Now the beach here is another one of those biomes I didn't really know what to add to it, so I had to get a little creative, and I've actually already made a video about this. But what if we had a new generated structure where they are digging up fossils on these beach biomes? And the fossils are just one aspect of it, giving a little more lore to Minecraft, but the real block being added here is apatite, which is apatite, not spelled like the one you have right now in your stomach, but apatite in real life is actually a pretty cool rock, and they often show up light blue, kind of like this. So I thought, what if we added it to Minecraft? It only spawns in beach biomes, and it looks just like diamonds. And of course, if we have apatite ore, we would get an apatite block, which also kind of looks like a diamond block. Though the fact that it's been since like 1.13 since we've gotten any light blue blocks, I think it's about time. I think it's about time we get some light blue blocks. Apatite is such a cool block. And conveniently right next to our beach, we have the stony shore, which honestly, this biome is pretty much just good for if you want to find some quick iron or some copper. Otherwise, it really doesn't have any good use until now. That's because I added this block, shale. Now, shale is actually a really common rock in real life. It's kind of like mud, actually. It's that rock with like those layers where you can like kind of tear it off super easily. Anyways, I feel like I don't really need to explain myself. This is a really cool color. We love more rocks in the game. You can never have enough gray blocks in Minecraft, and it's got stair, slab, and wall variants, which is much better than calcite can ever say. So give it to me, Mojang. Like, when are we adding this? Thank you. And you know how we got these Nautilus guys in a recent update? Well, I actually think it's pretty lame that when you kill them, you only have a chance to get a nautilus shell. I think it should drop nautilus shards, and then you're able to craft nautical bricks. And I've got to be honest, this has got to be like my favorite block we've gone ahead and added into this mod. I mean, come on, look at this. This is such a cool pattern. Not only does it have a really cool pattern, but I thought it would look really nicely with something like white terracotta or cherry wood, which is kind of a notorious block to be really hard to work with. I mean, these blocks are just made for each other, and I think nautical bricks would add into that gradient really nicely. And now we're in the deep ocean, and this is another one of those biomes where I'm just like, it's very forgettable. You kind of just go past it. There's nothing really unique about it. It's kind of just a subcategory of ocean. But what if in the deep ocean you swam down some of these holes, and I'm going to turn on the gamma real quick, you find sea stone, which is this very peculiar dark purple looking block. And it has this really cool wavy scaly pattern, which fits the ocean, but you also might think this is like scales on a sea serpent or whatever. Anyways, taking this block to the surface so you can get a better look, I just added it on this roof here, and it's kind of cool. You can see it has this very elegant purple looking color to it. And as you've probably come to understand, I like to add blocks that have colors that we don't have in the game. I think the darkest blue we have is like blue glazed terracotta or blue concrete or something, but this is like leagues darker. I guess maybe Skulk is darker blue if you want to consider that dark blue, and maybe the respawn anchor is kind of like a dark bluish purple. And I actually did a video where we looked at which is the most common color in Minecraft in terms of the blocks, and I think we found that dark blue was like one of the least common. Or maybe it was literally the least common. I'll pop up the video, but yeah, it just goes to show that we need more stuff like this. Now, the warm ocean is a really cool biome, and it's already got so many different blocks with the coral reefs. I mean, we got the tube corals, we got the bubble corals, got all these different blocks, and then they turn gray and give you even more gray blocks. Like, it's pretty awesome. However, I figured there was something we could add in the form of these bubbler columns, which kind of look like giant tube corals, and they're basically these like cool pillars that, I mean, the side almost look like candy canes, and this pattern on top looks almost like a vent. I mean, check this out. This is my little spaceship design. Not only does this block look really good with purpur, that was very intentional, but I mean, come on, these look like little thrusters. Like, I'm always thinking of the fun building potential with blocks, and for one, purpur, like, it's just so difficult to build with purpur. Have you ever seen purpur look good? I mean, I have. It's really hard though. I whipped up this little alien landscape, and I think the bubbler columns would look so cool with it, especially with this purpur gate right here. Now, believe it or not, this is a cold ocean. To me, it kind of just looks like a regular ocean, and that's sort of the problem. There's nothing distinct about the cold oceans. So for this biomes block, I thought of adding fluorescent sediment, which is this very bright green block. I mean, it's super bright green. If you saw this in your ocean, yeah, you just know you're in a cold ocean. And if I were better at programming, this block would probably have some really cool function, but for now, it's just a regular old block. And why did I choose radioactive green for it? Because I thought it would look cool at the bottom of oceans. I mean, that's literally it. I do think this would work really well in like some dangerous looking science facility or research lab. This block is practically made to look like some sort of radioactive substance that you shouldn't touch, that's in like a weird looking vat. Now, the frozen ocean, this is like the epitome of a boring biome. There's not even kelp here. Like, you might find a few salmon, you find some icebergs, but that's it. Like, it's just a gravel floor. So let's go ahead and change that with this block called moonstalks. And I thought it would be cool if it's like kelp. It's definitely kelp, but it's blue and it moves slower because I feel like things move slower in the cold, icy biomes, you know? Now, obviously, I programmed these pretty poorly because they don't actually function like kelp yet and don't grow. But imagine swimming through the frozen ocean and there's actually this like bright blue plant. I think it would look super cool and it would feel very alien for what this place is. Not to mention the moonstalks kind of look like that fake plastic plant that you might put in your aquarium to make your fish feel less lonely and more alive. So, you know, bonus points that we can get that look now in the game. Something that I think is cool on paper, but I don't actually like, is how prismarine changes its color. Over the course of like, I want to say 10 to 15 seconds, it goes from like this light blue color all the way to this purplish color. So here in the mushroom fields, I thought a cool block to add would be this block called Dripstone, which is kind of like desaturated prismarine, except it doesn't change colors. So I think it would be a lot more usable. It's another case of we don't have many light blue blocks in the game, so I want to add more light blue blocks. The lush caves are honestly what make exploring the caves worth it. This place is beautiful, but there was one plant that was revealed in the official Lush Caves concept art that was never added. And I'll pop that image on screen just so you can see, but this is our version of that plant in Minecraft called the Blossom Vine. And it sort of looks like the Spore Blossom. I imagine the Blossom Vine was the early Spore Blossom like concept art, but I still think, you know, 2 pink flowers is better than 1 inside the Lush Caves. And from afar, I mean, that just looks great. Like, that just makes Lush Caves even more beautiful than they are. Not to mention, this block makes phenomenal decoration for your house or for your garden, whatever it may be. You know, more plants, we always need them. When the Dripstone caves were added, pointed dripstone added a lot of new versatility to Minecraft, whether it be with farms or trapping or just something fun to explore in the caves. But this block, the dripstone block, it really kind of lacks. Now, we don't have stairs and slabs, and I think that's fine. Honestly, what we need is carved dripstone, and this looks like regular dripstone. It's just, well, it's carved. So the side of this block has this really cool tiled pattern that maybe you'd see in like a dwarven fortress inside a cave. And the top has this really cool weaving tile brick pattern. It's pretty awesome. I would love to use this as my flooring personally. And in fact, here's what it would look like inside my castle hallway. And yeah, this is just a cool block. Such a mesmerizing pattern. And now we have the Deep Dark, which I already think is a very complete biome. It already has so much going for it with the wardens, the skulk sensors, the skulk catalyst. I mean, it's just a cool biome. But what about a mushroom type block called the Blind Shroom? And this mushroom, when you step on it, it'll actually give you that Warden Darkness effect. But of course, it'll only give it to you for a couple seconds. So once you step off of it, its effects wear off. It just kind of adds another obstacle you have to avoid when you're in these caves. And then if you accidentally step on it, you might think, oh, I triggered a warden, even though it's just, oh, I stepped on a mushroom. The Nether has some of the coolest biomes in Minecraft, and there's a lot you could add here because it's very fantasy, but I actually decided to keep most of these very simple. And the block I thought to add to the Nether waste is actually something that would generate on bastions, the Gilded Blackstone shingles. And at a glance, it just looks like Gilded Blackstone. But the idea is that they used to build the bastion's roofs out of these Gilded Blackstone shingles. And so some bastions would now generate with an extra layer of Gilded Blackstone on it. I think the bastions are a really cool structure. I just wish there were more variants, maybe some variants that looked a little less destroyed, and they could do that with Gilded Blackstone shingles. The Soul Sand Valley is a very creepy biome because, I mean, it's pretty much just a bunch of soil made of souls. So that kind of means I'm walking on deceased people, and to further contribute to this lore, I thought we could add soul spores, which is this very bright green block. It almost looks like XP, and that's because if you break it, you actually do get XP. And yes, the idea is that this is experience from, you know, these deceased souls that are here in this biome, but the main reason I wanted to add this is because the Soul Sand Valley doesn't actually have a unique plant of its own. However, you may be able to find Crimson Root spawn in the Soul Sand Valley, which I think is kind of weird. Why don't we just have our own block for the Soul Sand Valley? Besides, this one makes much more sense considering the context of this biome. Additionally, in the overworld, this kind of looks like a head of lettuce if you use your imagination a little bit, which I think is something Mojang would do. They always like adding a lot of versatility with their blocks, and as a builder, I would definitely appreciate that. Now, like I said earlier, I really like the way the Nether biomes look, especially the Crimson Forest. Even how dangerous it is my favorite biome in the Nether. So since we have red Nether bricks, why don't we have chiseled red Nether bricks? And as you can see on this block, we have the piglin face right there. And this just kind of draws an homage to how the actual chiseled Nether bricks have that skull pattern. Well, the chiseled red Nether bricks have a piglin face. So if you think about it, I'm not really adding any blocks to Crimson Forest. I'm just giving you another block option to craft from materials you may get in the Crimson Forest. Now, since we have red Nether bricks, of course we need blue Nether bricks, and that's what the Warp Forest is for. These are blue Nether bricks, and it's pretty obvious why these are added. I mean, come on now, we already have red Nether bricks, we have a Warped Forest, so we need blue Nether bricks. It just makes sense. But unfortunately, I don't think Mojang will ever add this because we don't have a blue Nether wart, and you currently need regular Nether wart to craft red Nether bricks. It covers another really necessary color that we're missing from the blocks in Minecraft. Heading into the Basalt Delta now, what is the one thing you see in the Basalt Delta like all the time? I don't know, it's kind of all around us. Yeah, it's these particles, these annoying gray particles that are just everywhere in the Basalt Delta. Well, it's kind of just going nowhere, and I think that looks like ash. So why don't we actually add ash into the game and add ash layers? It just makes sense for the Basalt deltas since it's like raining them all the time. Plus having more layers in the game would give us so much creative potential. I could see this block being used on like the edge of rivers to look like a sort of sandy gravel. And of course it also just looks good in the Basalt deltas to begin with. And our final stop is the end dimension. No doubt this video will become aged because the end dimension is going to get updated. Like when you come in here, there are like 2 blocks. Chorus plant and end stone. It's just like, it's missing so much. So Mojang, here's my block idea pitch. This right here is called buoy stone, and it does look very, very similar to end stone. It's got some very distinct differences, like end stone has a lot of craters on the top, whereas this one has a more smooth looking sandy texture. But anyways, its special purpose is that I figured it would spawn on the edge of end islands like this. So from afar it would kind of blend in. It would have this little bump right here. Now if you were in a sticky situation, buoy stone could actually save you in a lot of different ways. So, you know, I can just ender pearl safely up there and boom. We're safe. I'm actually curious what you guys think of that idea. I thought it would be pretty cool to have another way to bring levitation to the overworld, besides, you know, bringing a shulker all the way to the overworld and then having it shoot you with its little bullet. What if instead you could just go ahead and mine some of this buoy stone and then bring it back to the overworld yourself? Now, I know I didn't cover every single biome like the deep lukewarm ocean or the end barren highlands. I kind of just condensed a few biomes into one, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and this mod is available on Modrant for you to download if you so desire. This one's been in the works for a couple months, so I hope you enjoyed, and I appreciate your patience, and I'll see you in the next one.